What's up everybody, this is Master Ian Gamer. The Overwatch 2 PvP livestream just concluded, and with it we got a fair amount of interesting new information regarding the PvP and other aspects of Overwatch 2. These include some pretty radical changes to the PvP format, some very interesting hero changes, especially when it comes to the tank heroes, some much more in-depth looks at the PvP maps, a new look at another hero redesign, and possibly even a new hero teaser. So in this video, I'll be covering all the important details from the live stream, but before we jump into it, I just want to remind you to subscribe and hit up that bell icon so you don't miss out on any future Overwatch news and content. And also be sure to stick around to the end of this video to find out how to enter my Overwatch Anniversary Loot Box giveaway, where you can have the chance to win up to 24 Overwatch Anniversary Loot Boxes. So stick around for that, but otherwise, now let's jump right into the details. So first up, I think we have to talk about the biggest and most outstanding announcement made about Overwatch 2 in this livestream, which is the change from a 6v6 format to a 5v5. Now, this was something which people had already suspected based on footage from BlizzConline back in February, but here the Overwatch developers flat out confirmed this would be happening, and instead of the typical 2 tanks, 2 supports, and 2 DPS format we've seen previously, now it's going to be shifting to only 1 tank with 2 supports and 2 DPS. Now, understandably, there are going to be some pretty substantial balance changes to individual heroes because of this change, most notably when it comes to the tank heroes. In general, it sounds like the tanks are going to become much beefier, with some of these specific examples including a new ability for Winston, in which he can alternate fire to charge up a ranged lightning strike to hit enemies that are a bit further away, and a change to Zarya where both of her bubbles have a shared cooldown like what we saw during the recent April Fool's experimental patch, and this basically just gives her a bit more freedom in how and when she bubbles people. In addition to this, it was also mentioned that D.Va is going to have a longer defense matrix uptime in order to allow her to provide a bit more protection, and of course the numerous changes to Reinhardt which were originally talked about back at BlizzConline, mainly being that he now has more control over his charge ability and his ability to steer it and also stop it preemptively without hitting something, and a second charge of Fire Strike which allows him to use it twice in quick succession. Now, another interesting thing mentioned regarding tank heroes, which was only sort of briefly mentioned before moving on, is that Orisa is apparently going to be undergoing some major changes. Or at the very least, the dev team is currently considering some major changes for her, and hence was the reason she wasn't shown in any of the gameplay footage during this live stream. No further information was given regarding how exactly they plan to change her or what the new version might end up looking like, but it is interesting to note that Orisa appears to be undergoing quite a bit of consideration, to the point that they weren't even comfortable showing off gameplay of her in the current version of Overwatch 2. Now, keeping this in mind, it's also worth noting that Orisa wasn't the only hero who didn't appear in any of this gameplay footage. Just from my own viewing, the heroes I noticed being absent were Sigma and Bastion, both of whom are heroes which we can reasonably assume might be undergoing similar changes, or at least consideration of change, in the same way as Orisa. So while it wasn't stated outright that Sigma and Bastion are being reconsidered in terms of their viability and their role in the game, I think it's fair to assume that they could be undergoing some pretty significant changes as well. But of course, that is just speculation based on their absence of the livestream and what little detail was given about Orisa and the reason behind her absence. Now, moving away from just talking about the tanks, the devs also mentioned once again the different passive role abilities that each of the roles are going to have in order to make them feel more unique and better fill the niches they're intended to fill. This was something which was already mentioned once again back during BlizzConline, and these included the tanks having less knockback when they're booped by a Lucio or a Wrecking Ball or whoever, and also that they generate less ultimate charge for enemies who are dealing damage to them. DPS heroes have a move speed bonus which allows them to just move around the map more quickly, and support heroes have a passive health regeneration akin to Mercy's, but to a lesser extent. Again, this was stuff which they had talked about back at BlizzConline, but it was interesting to hear them reiterate and further solidify the idea of role passives being something coming to heroes in Overwatch 2. Beyond this, we also got some interesting information regarding Mei and a change to her primary fire, which is that her freeze spray no longer freezes enemies. Instead, it merely slows them down, but deals a bit more damage in order to compensate for this. It is worth noting though that her ultimate ability, Blizzard, does appear to still freeze enemies, as in a couple of the gameplay clips where Mei was being played, we can see the ultimate freezing people solid. So it seems like freezing isn't completely removed from her kit entirely, just from her primary fire, which was presumably done in order to just reduce the amount of crowd control she has. Now, another interesting thing about heroes which they mentioned during this livestream was that all forms of overhealing, which previously had been armor and shields as two different variants, has now been simplified down into the green overhealth. The reason for this was apparently to help make it more intuitive as for what's going on with a hero, as at a glance you can just see the green health on their health bar and know that they have additional health. And instead of having to worry about whether they have shields or are they depleting shields or is it armor, apparently they decided to just simplify it to simply being bonus health without any extra aspects tacked onto it. According to them, this was done to just simplify the overhealing mechanic and seems like a fair direction for them to take it as a way to just simplify the UI and make everything more intuitive. Now, beyond just hero changes, we also got a number of in-depth looks at new maps which are going to be coming with Overwatch 2. Now, unfortunately, no brand new maps were announced during this livestream. They were all maps which had been announced previously, but it was nice that we finally got a proper in-depth look at many of these and got to see full matches being played on them. These maps included New York, Toronto, Rio, Rome, and Monte Carlo. Blizzard showed off a full match being played on each of these maps, and overall it just gave us a good idea for how these maps are going to look and feel as actual maps in Overwatch 2. Previously, we'd only really gotten clips of gameplay and concept artwork for most of these maps, with Toronto being the exception, since that one was actually playable to attendees at BlizzCon 2019, but for the other four, we finally got in-depth looks at what these maps are actually going to be like as maps. Again, it was a bit disappointing we didn't get to see any brand new, never before mentioned maps shown off during this livestream, but it was nice that they gave us more information and insight into the ones which have already been revealed. Beyond just maps though, there are also a number of other miscellaneous and interesting things mentioned and teased during this livestream, and first and foremost, the one which stuck out to me is a possible teaser for a new hero on Rome. Now, admittedly, this might not be anything, but we can see clearly here on Rome a poster advertising a gladiator battle between Zephyrus and Maximus. Now, on its own, it could be anything. We see posters featuring non-playable characters all over the place on several different maps, but one other thing which really made this stick out to me was that in the tweet posted by the official Play Overwatch Twitter account talking about this new map, which they were doing just during the live stream, they were posting out tweets for the new content, the one focusing on Rome specifically mentioned Zephyrus and Maximus. Now, maybe gladiatorial battles are just an exciting thing going on in the Overwatch universe, and hence is the reason they included it in the social media post. But to me, it does seem a bit suspicious. We have these two very cool looking characters, Zephyrus and Maximus, engaging in blatant gladiatorial battle. And we don't really have the gladiator hero, well, as long as you don't count the recent gladiator skin Doomfist just got for this year's anniversary event. So, could one or both of these be a new hero? Admittedly, it's a stretch. I don't think we can necessarily say for sure just yet whether this is anything to really write home about, but I will be keeping an eye out for these two, and specifically keeping an eye on Rome in general, to see if maybe we end up learning anything more about them, and whether or not they could potentially end up being new heroes. But moving on to some of the other interesting things discussed during this livestream, we also got a proper look at the Torbjorn redesign, which we'd actually seen concept artwork of before, but now we actually got a close-up look of what this redesign is going to look like as a model in-game. And I gotta say, It's pretty good looking, I quite like it. Unfortunately, this was the only redesign we got, and technically it wasn't even a brand new one since we had seen it before, but it's better than nothing, and I'm glad that Blizzard is sort of gradually showing off more and more hero redesigns as time goes on. And the last big thing I want to mention from this livestream is that Aaron Keller, the new Overwatch game director, mentioned that there will be at least one more PvP game mode beyond Push coming with Overwatch 2. He didn't give any more details about it or say anything about how the game mode's going to be played, but he did specify that they have another game mode in the works and that they'll be talking about it at some point in the future. So until then, we'll just have to hang tight and look forward to the next time Blizzard does a live stream like this or has some other sort of big announcement for content coming with Overwatch 2. But that does it for all the major important things discussed during this recent live stream. Overall, it wasn't nearly as content dense as BlizzConline, but it was nice that we got to have a more in-depth look at many of these different maps. And overall, it was just nice hearing the devs give us more information about the sequel. We've been waiting quite a while at this point once again for more information, and while they didn't show us any outright new heroes or even any brand new maps, it was nice to get a more in-depth look at the maps we've already seen previously, and just hear a bit more about how the game is going to be played. Admittedly, I am a bit skeptical about the 5v5 format and some of the other things they talked about during the live stream, but I'll probably be saving most of my personal thoughts and ideas about it for a separate video shortly after this one, so be sure to stay tuned for that. However, in the meantime, be sure to enter my Overwatch Anniversary Loot Box giveaway, which will be running from now until May 26th. I'm giving away a grand prize code, which is good for 24 anniversary loot boxes, as well as 3 second place prizes, each good for 5 loot boxes. All you have to do is subscribe to my YouTube channel and follow that link down at the top of the description to verify your entry. If you'd like bonus entries to increase your chances of winning, then you can also follow me on Twitter and retweet my pinned tweet talking about the giveaway. So best of luck to you, hope you get some loot boxes, and otherwise, thank you all so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe, follow me on Twitter, hit up that bell icon, and come join me on Discord to hang out and never miss any future Overwatch content. Special thanks to my YouTube channel members who help make these videos possible, and if you'd like to join them to earn some cool rewards, then just hit that join button down below. Otherwise, this is Master Ian Gamer signing off, and until next time, have a great day.